Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Počne. Right on, Mitko. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. The podcast is going to be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living.
All right, so currently I'm employed in the IT industry. More specifically, it's in the DevOps field, which I'm very new to. I'm This is probably going to be my eighth or ninth year in the overall industry. I was working for a bigger company before, but then just in the support fields, more towards corporations and less toward end users. But now I've completely decided to change my field of specialization. Um, Pretty broadly, how did I get here? It was pretty much by chance. I don't know how to explain it. I just got lucky to land the first job, and it pretty much set me on that track.
Well, I
I like.
highly doubt that this is the correct. Maybe you're right, but I just don't think this was the right term that you got lucky. I don't think you got lucky because you've already had the necessary set of skills to start the first job, and after that you just went on the path, and then you ended up on the current situation. I honestly, maybe I'm wrong, of course, but I don't view it as a luck.
I do because I started looking for a job out of a necessity because I was at that point in my life which I already had to start getting working experience. At that particular point, my specialization when it comes to university and my education was not that specific. And I was looking for just a job to get me started. And I got lucky that the large corporation actually was able to employ me.
Oh, in
I'm
that
talking,
case, yeah, I got
yes.
you.
And from my experience afterwards, everything that I did there had nothing to do with my education so far. Um, so I guess the main thing that I feel here is that I kind of feel lucky that I was able to get there because it gave me a bit more experience and how can I say insight as to how actual work in the sector gets done and the need of the skills that they require to just get you started. It doesn't matter into what type of specialization you're in.
Uh,
Uh, sure.
it's actually a good thing that you started in a big corporation, in a major one, because if you've noticed, there are a lot of processes over there, and things aren't really moving that fast. They're a little bit slow. They're not government slow, but they're not really fast. So I think this kind of teaches you a little bit of work ethics, patience, communication. Although in the IT sector, as we all know, communication isn't really top of the top priority, but you kind of have to do that as well. So I think that it was a pretty good thing that you started in a major one, and then you moved afterwards.
I agree. I definitely agree. Although I have to say that I was actually very happy with how the major corporation worked. Currently, I'm working in a bit more dynamic environment, and as I'm still getting used to it,
Yeah.
I still feel that the previous type of work, let's say speed or tempo, was a lot like it was more to my liking. But as I said, I'm still adapting, so I guess in time I actually made up liking this one more. Um, so yeah, pretty much that's what I do for background. I am still, as I said, still skilling up, specifically in the DevOps field. I'm moving more towards the operations rather than development. So, programming wise, I still don't know how to do anything. So, we'll see,
Right
perhaps
on.
in the future.
You've covered both of the questions. What do you do for a living and how'd you get there? My third question is a little bit tricky. It's how did you know that this was the way to go? And needless to say, I don't get the chance to receive two people giving me the same answer. The reason I'm asking this is, and I'm sure everybody have already noticed this, and this isn't something that's an issue here in Europe. This is happening everywhere. People tend to go to colleges and universities because of this stigma that you have to go over there, you have to have a diploma. And I received a few messages on LinkedIn like, do you have a problem with universities or the colleges? Are you against them? No, I'm not. I have never been against them. I myself went to college. I myself went to university. I'm fine with them as long as they're necessary. And there's more than one example that they aren't, because and I call it stigma because it is what it is. They are young people like 16, 17, 18, 19 years old are convinced that you have to go over there to have to secure a future. And we all know that's not true. You can't just secure your future by having a diploma, for two main reasons, from my point of view, of course. First, just because something is relevant today doesn't mean it will be relevant tomorrow. I often give this example of my father, who was, I think, 70 years old now. He told me that when he was a student, he was told that if he learns how to fix a TV, he will have a job for life. And in all fairness, I don't remember ever fixing it, ever sending a TV to get fixed. If it doesn't work, I'm just throwing it out and I'm buying a new one. And it's been like that for like a lot of time. I have never fixed a phone or a TV in my life. So we all know that that's not true. And the second reason I'm doing this in that way, in that concept, is I had to summarize the channel's description, and the best thing I could have put up was time is the only resource we can't afford to lose. And because you've lost money, we've all lost money, friends, relationships, stuff like that. But you can't really afford to lose a lot of time. And they're in that age group, that time is really important because they're vibrant, dynamic, and stuff like that. So I hate seeing people losing like 4 to 6 years of their lives and just going on in the workforce without actual work ethics. And this is why I structured the podcast in that way. So this is why I'm asking the question in that regard. How did you knew that this was the way to go?
Wow, this is a lot to unpack right now. I mean, it's a very complicated subject, specifically as
It
to all the
is.
things you've mentioned. Yes. So to answer your question, plain and simple, I didn't know that. Um, but the reason why I didn't know is partly for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. I believe that partly the situation arises from our parents because they were brought up in a different environment, different societary norms, so to say, and a lot less choices than what we have right now. Currently, let me see if I can explain this the best as I can. So currently, every one of us has been brought up with the idea that you need a diploma in order to get a good standing job. But by the time we actually grew up, it became absolutely mandatory for anybody to have a diploma to get a job of any kind.
Yep.
So, which means this kind of devalues the actual value of the diploma itself. And then comes the actual specialization inside. Like, are you going to be like your father, some sort of a mechanic? Are you going to be an engineer? Are you going to be a doctor? This kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's another issue because if you have like one or two universities, they're going to produce quality people, quality professionals. If you have 1,000, it's a basic economic structure, demand and supply. If the supply is of thousands, then it kind of doesn't matter where exactly you go.
I
So yeah.
mean, I agree and disagree with this, but we can discuss this in a different topic if you want to. Additionally, so what I wanted to just conclude the saying is that right now the main value that has been let's say demanded by most people, most employers, is the actual amount of skills or type of skills that you acquire during your education. And this is kind of the plus and minus of the entire situation because, as you know, for example, not all countries' education systems are on the equal terms, and most employers look for something extremely specific. So you need a very specific specialization in order for you to start better than most people in any field. The only ones that I'm going to put aside as to are like the health, like the hospitals, doctors, this type of fields, because you can start practicing without actually having good experience and
Yep.
good education. I mean, for ethic purposes.
Yeah. And all of
Uh,
them legal.
yes. Um, so in my current experience, I didn't know because I was asked like, "What do you want to work?" Even since I was a kid, and it's very tough for a child, even at before you get to high school, to understand what you actually want to do. Your main drive is to, okay, I want to be able to make money so I can support a family, my parents to be proud of me, and blah 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 blah. And this is where the problem kicks in. I don't believe that it's a good idea to give, or at least, how can I say, it's not a wise idea to give someone so young a choice with that type of magnitude, because the actual experience of that person makes the choice really difficult if it's about to be taken seriously. And let's be
Thank
honest, not a
you.
lot of people take it seriously. And
Exactly.
and I do understand, because you can't ask a child that is about to leave seventh grade as to what do you want to work when you grow up. Like, they don't know. And then comes the other problem as to when you reach university, because it's not customary, at least with us, to go from a specific type of school to then natural continuation in the university. Then your branches just reset. And from most things that we can see, like pretty much from the results you need from admittance, let's say in each university, they require some basic stuff. They don't care about anything specializing in the schools. And let's be honest, I came from a school with technical specializations, and I was studying at the same place where people came from schools related with language specialization. So it didn't matter pretty much how you ended up in university. And then comes the problems with universities, because specifically from our country, at least what I can see is, um, people are focusing too much on things that are already out of date. Yes, important for fundamentals, but more. But I don't believe that so much time and uh, effort should be put in things that should not or are not used anymore. And this is why universities in foreign countries, let's say Denmark, in UK, in Holland, European countries, have an edge over our education system, is because they they create specializations for things that are relevant on the market and things that are actually required for most of the jobs in the region.
And that will be relevant and that will be required.
At least at that particular point of time, yes. Not
Yep.
something that's been relevant like, let's say, 40 or 30 years ago, which is already
Yep.
out of date.
Exactly.
This
This
is
is
this
why when I was in college and we had to study something about I don't even remember because it was so long ago, but so we kind of had to study something about 1995 about some and I went to the professor and said, okay, what do I have to do to get the bare minimum to pass this subject, because it's basically pointless, stupid, and ridiculous, and I'm not getting any of it, and I don't need this knowledge. Because at some point you understand, not only as a professional but as a student, you understand what exactly you need to get through. So you kind of sense it, you feel it. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you.
The main point, I guess, of everything here is that, in order for you to understand where you want to be, you need to gather experience as to what you can do. And the only way to do this is to do it with exposure. Get a job in a particular field, understand how it works, and then learn where you can go and if you actually like doing it. Because a lot of people, at least what I have met, they don't like their job, but they're like feel forced in order to work that because it's the only thing they have experience with. And
Yes,
most of them, when I
exactly.
ask them, like, why don't you just look for another job? And I don't know what else to do, or I am too old for this. And I'm okay, so you have the capability to learn. If it's about money, then yeah, okay, you have a good point. But if you want to learn something that you want to do or experiment, just do it. And in my case, this was my experience recently, because although I liked my job when it was regarding to the support field, I learned a lot of stuff, and I'm not talking just technical skills. I learned communications with customer, how corporate actually works, or at least from some perspective, how to work with colleagues, office environment, even behavior.
Yep.
Uh,
Ethics.
And this was super important. A lot of people don't actually understand that this is actually the most important stuff that you need. And what people are looking for is for you to be diligent and to want to learn. This is probably the one thing that nobody tells you, but everyone wants to see.
I
And
couldn't agree more. And I love the fact that you brought this, because when people go to a specific university and graduate something and then start doing specific, let's say an office position, if it's not for them, and there's nothing wrong with saying that a specific job is not for a specific person. We can't all be the same, right? Like I cannot be an IT guy because I can learn how to do it, obviously, but I don't want
but you
to.
won't like it. But you
Yeah,
won't
no, I
like it.
wouldn't like it, and there's nothing wrong with saying this.
No,
And
this is completely fine.
have you noticed that people that are doing this, that they are doing specific things that aren't for them, that they're not really happy people? You cannot be a
Yes.
happy person if you do something 8-9 hours a day that you simply hate. It doesn't work like that.
Yes, I have a lot of people, or at least not a lot, but I have a few friends that are like glaring examples of this. And to be honest, at the last months of my old job, I was starting to get kind of bored of this, and my liking for the job itself started to decline, and I felt immediately the difference. And
Yep, it's
it is
like living in your own hell and being your own inquisitor at the same time. It's crazy.
kind of, yes, but mostly because eventually you end up stagnating. You learn as much as you can learn. I mean, you can always improve, but at some point you just feel that you're going nowhere and you need to learn something else. My motivation to change my field is exactly that, because I know that, for example, development and operations and all the cloud systems right now are pretty much skyrocketing. Everybody's looking for people.
Yep.
And I decided, okay, so I need a year or two to get my feet wet in this kind of stuff, learn the new skills, and then just go up from there and see if I actually like it. And I'm willing to do that, and I do recommend people to do that as much as possible. Um, of course, this doesn't mean that you are going to start a job for like 6 months and say, okay, I don't want to do this, and then move on,
Yeah.
because then it's a bit like not very, how can I say, not smart. But as long as you give it a chance, like 1 or 2 years, in order for you to actually get the real experience, because it's always hard at the beginning. At least the first year is always like a nightmare every time. It doesn't matter what type of job, as long as it's new.
Absolutely.
Um, and to kind of turn around and go back again to the university problem, is this is the main issue I personally have with the majority of the universities is they do teach you technical skills. I agree. But the most important stuff really gets neglected. The stuff exactly what most employers want to see is your dedication towards the work, your desire to actually learn and improve on what you are, and the actual emphasis on everything else around the actual technical skills. Because a lot of people I noticed, new guys that get hired maybe directly from university, they're very um, how can I say? I don't want to say disrespectful, but more like they say, okay, I know this and that. I have certificates for this and that. Why do I have to deal with, for example, filling up technical information or talking to customers? Or why should I be nice to people when I know stuff? And this is the important things that people need to learn.
Well, in all fairness, arrogance can often be found in the younger generation, and we weren't really that different from them when we graduated. I mean, I wasn't that different from them when I graduated.
No, I agree. I agree. I completely I know how they feel because I also felt the same way. But the problem was that I learned this during the job that I already had. And I don't see a problem if this type of knowledge can be implemented to you even before you actually set up inside the job. Like, for example, in university or in school. All right, school maybe is too early, but
Yeah, school's definitely too early.
university at least can do this particular type of stuff.
I was lucky enough to have, I think, about 40% or even more of my professors weren't really professors. They were actually CEOs and supervisors and team leaders in different companies. So they were able to, and I've told this story before. When I was in college, I was working as a bartender, and the professors, actually those professors, they were actually running around. They requested information from all of us. Where do you work? What do you do? And they actually went over there to check work ethics. If you work in the store, they go over there as clients and they test your nerve a little bit. And since I was a bartender, they often went to my place for one reason or another. And one day I had some, unshaved beard, and my shoes were dirty because it was raining. And a couple of days after that, we were on lectures, and it was like, "Hey, get over here." And he put me in front of 150 people and said, "Okay, so I went to the bar," and he was pointing at me, and this guy looked like a homeless person. He wasn't shaved, and his shoes were dirty. And I was a kid. I was 18 something, 18, 19 something like that. And I started, well, it was raining. And he said, "Yeah, it was raining for the whole city, not only for you. Everybody else got the shoes cleaned. And why weren't you clean shaved, man? What's wrong with you?" And I don't think you can actually find this was like 12, 13 years ago. I don't think you can actually find a picture of me where I'm not clean shaved. This was the last time I was not shaved. So it kind of stuck with me. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. If you have one last thing to highlight to the new generation, or to the whole audience, what will it be? As an advice or something?
I personally would advise people not to be afraid to experiment. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that say that it's okay to fail as long as you learn from your mistakes, and this also applies for finding a job that you like. It is important to find a place where you actually feel comfortable, or at least a field which you feel interested in growing. And it will take some, it doesn't come for everybody, and you need to find your place. So experimenting is not bad as long as you do it wisely.
Yeah.
And to everybody that's afraid that they don't have skills to do a specific job, in our times right now is very easy to actually skill up enough so that you can get at least an entry position and get your feet wet, so to say, in
Yep.
any particular field, except doctors, of course, again, for
Yeah.
legal purposes.
We've already covered it. No, the access to information it's like an ocean over there. You can pick up a new skill rather easy. There was a gentleman on my program, and he said you should go to LDB University. He was from the United States. And I'm not sure what, and he was like, "Learn by doing, get a job, man." So yeah, it was brilliant. So I couldn't agree more with you. And again, thank you for being on the program, and I wish you all the best, man.
All the best to you too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.